So in first few minutes today we shall proceed somewhat further as a continuity of the last lecture, and then we just restart the course as such with all present now, and at the same time those who are not present can be virtually present in a virtual classroom where they would be in a position to listen the same contents. So last time we were considering of the possibility of virtual error free transmission or transmission with minimal amount of error or minimum probability of error on a noisy channel by suitably adopting the channel coding techniques. Ultimately, we will proceed to the channel capacity theorem proposed by Shannon. One thing which we had not introduced till this point of time is that when we thought of a binary symmetric channel, we have gone for this matrix or this multiple probabilities 0, 1, 0, 1, maybe 0.99, 0.99, 0.01 and 0.01. These probabilities are for every use of the channel. We had not introduced the timing factor or rate factor in these probabilities right now. But needless to say that the same channel, if used at a larger rate, will result in more probability of error, and if used at a smaller rate will result in less probability of error. It is just like repetitive coding. For example, if we consider a case wherein no other modulation techniques are being used, but a same simple two long wire transmission is being used, and this is the transmitter wherein this is made either 0 or 1, that is 0 or 5 volts, let us say, and this is the receiver which is checking it. If it is decided to receive one symbol per hour, if it is decided to receive one symbol per hour, then naturally it will be made either 1 or 0 and kept the same for 1 hour. Then what the receiver will do? The receiver will check it multiple times in that hour, and based on their majority there will be conclusion. So obviously the probability will reduce. So when the binary symmetric channel given a probability distribution like this, it results into a channel capacity C. It results into a channel capacity C, which is equal to 1 minus HP, where HP is the probability associated with this error probability. Then this, or in other words, this particular graph with these probabilities is collectively specified for a given channel and its use at a given rate. So this probability distribution applies for a given physical channel and a given rate per use of the channel. So, if the channel is used once in time Tc, if channel is used once in time Tc, this happens to be the channel capacity per unit time. Then it becomes a channel capacity per unit time. And naturally, what will happen is that when the same physical channel is there, you use it at a lower rate. It is in a way you are using channel 2. In the last lecture, what you have seen, in the last lecture, we have discussed adding redundancies, adding more number of bits, So, adding more number of bits, that reduces the probability distribution for this effectively. Similarly, the same physical channel, if used at a higher rate, is having higher error distribution. If used at a lower rate, is having low error distribution. So, a noisy channel can be used for reliable transmission by reducing the information rate. If you want to transfer more information on the same channel, it is more prone to error, and if you decide to transmit less information, it is more reliable. So it is obviously some kind of trade-off between the rate and the reliability. Right? The details we shall see later, because this I mentioned right now because it was in continuation with the last session. But keeping it aside now, this being the second week, we do have sufficient crowd, and I think this is a proper time wherein we should revise the contents, also being the master's class and the background for this subject being ready. I presume that more time is not required in revising the contents which we have discussed in first 2 or 3 lectures. And with this becoming available to you, you can see it at any point of time when you find that appropriate. So in the subject of advanced digital communication, it is having 6 modules, and the book of Digital Communications by Simon Hyken happens to be a complete reference for this subject, even though anybody and everybody is free to go for other references. So by and large, we try to stick to the points which has been given in sequence in this book. Especially we are having chapter number 1 is a prerequisite for the book itself, so it need not be specifically mentioned. Chapter 2, chapter 3 and chapter 5 form first 3 modules, and chapter 7, chapter 8 and chapter 9 form last 3 modules. Even though you may decide to read the complete book as such. The traces of digital communication can be searched long back in telegraph. The Morse code itself is a binary code, and the telegraph transmission was an example of digital communication with the help of the, what we can say, mechanical assemblies. But after that, much advancement started in what we can say late last century. And today we find that everything is almost digital. That has been possible with the help of fast processing and high resolution ADCs. The advancements in technology today provide an upper edge for the digital communication systems over analog communication systems, and therefore it happens to have spread almost everywhere. The digital communication has got some fundamentals, and those fundamentals are actually interdisciplinary in nature, that has nothing to do with electronics as such. Those are uncertainty, information and entropy. Those are uncertainty, information and entropy. Those who have attended the very first lecture may find some repetition, but even though it is repetition, it is not a recorded replay. Therefore, it is possible that they may gain something from this lecture also. So, as regards to this first point in the first module, we can go rapidly because it is somewhat known to you. An experiment which is having multiple outcomes is being conducted. Hello. Come in a separate stream or same stream? Same stream. So when an experiment which is having multiple outcomes is being conducted, let us have the representation of an experimentation like this. The source output is modeled as discrete random variable capital S, which is having S, which takes on symbol for fixed final alphabet. So the discrete random variable S takes either of these values from this set. Either of these values from this set. For example, throwing a dice, tossing a coin, like that. The probabilities we will be having, obviously. So each of the symbol has got a probability. The small s0 to small s is. We shall try to stick up to the convention used in the book so that there should not be confusion when you are studying. So it is having probability P0, like that it is having probability P1, sorry Pk, and so on. And obviously this has to be 1. So that all outcomes have been considered. All outcomes have been considered. The source is also a discrete memoryless source. Memoryless source means that the outcome of the previous experiment does not in any way bias the current experiment. For example, if I am having a playing card set and I am drawing a card at random, and if I am not replacing the card drawn, in that case it is considered to be an experiment with memory, because the first experiment is going to change the probabilities for the subsequent experiment, and if the card is replaced, then it becomes a discrete memoryless source. Then what is information and its quantification is a perception. There cannot be a well-defined formula as such for exactly, because information is subjective. It may depend upon individual to individual. So we are trying to quantize. We are trying to make the things more objective by putting them in a formula. It is expected that since the uncertainty is involved in it, if the experiment is deterministic, then there is no question of information. But since the experiment is random, it is involved with multiple outcomes, uncertainty is there, and as uncertainty is there, I am interested to see the outcome of the experiment, and that outcome of the experiment gives me some information. Then the less probable event occurring, the observer gets more surprised. Observer gets surprised when a less probable event takes place. And this particular theme is being used to encode the amount of information. So the amount of information it is capital P, and small amount of information in the amount of information that is conveyed by a particular outcome is considered to be proportional in an inverse manner to its probability. But that proportionality in inverse manner is not a linear one. It was suggested to be logarithmic in 20s. That time the binary thing has not evolved. Actually, you can think of the capabilities of those who have thought that time, because that time is today binary is very significant. Therefore, logarithm to the base 2 has got some kind of implementation issues and advantage. But Hartley in 1928 had a thought that the information should be logarithm of 1 upon probability. But that time, since the binary has not yet played a role, the log to the base 2 was not a popular thing that time. But he has thought that it should be related to the logarithm of the probability in an inverse manner. So, a concept of logarithm of 1 upon pk is almost a decade old now. That time, yes, this is log to the base 10, but log to the base 2. So, information in a particular outcome is logarithm to the base 2 of 1 upon pk, or it is minus log pk also, because 1 upon pk is minus 1. So, it can be then obviously if pk is 1, if pk is 1, what will happen? It is bound to occur. So it absolutely gives no information. And again pk equal to 0, it will give infinite information. It will be surprised. We will be surprised to an extent. Right. So probability less, information more, and vice versa. Now if we think of average information, if we think of average information, so right now what we have taken into consideration? Information given by a particular outcome of an experiment. So if I take it further, each outcome will give me different informations. Each outcome will give me different informations, right? So if I think of having a figure called as average information or mean of all these values, in that case it is called as entropy of this entire set, this entire experiment. So that I can write as entropy in this entire experiment is mean of all these IKs. Entropy is mean of entropy is mean of the individual informations associated with each outcome. Then how can we write the formula for this? How can we write the formula for this? Will it be simple summation upon capital K?
No, sir.
Will this be summation K equal to 0 to capital K? Will be like this? Up and 1 upon K on this side?
No.
No. Why?
Me.
Because this is not a plain average, as these outcomes S0 to Sk are occurring at different probabilities. As these are occurring at different probabilities, while taking average, I should consider this as well. Therefore, I may say that if I perform the experiment for 1000 times, then 1000 into P0 will be the times for which S0 will come, and so on. So ultimately I hope that everybody will immediately understand this, that Pk means it is the information in a particular outcome into its probability and summation for all possible outcomes. When this Pk is there, it gives me a weighted average itself. Now there is no need of division, because Pk is actually a division of number of outcomes upon number of total experiments. So it is weighted. Everybody agrees with this now? So that is equal to capital K, Pk log 1 upon Pk, or same is minus summation Pk log Pk to the base 2, k equal to 0, capital K, not capital K, k minus 1. Is it correct? So H, so I can write ultimately Hs is equal to summation k equal to 0, capital K minus 1, Pk log upon Pk to the base 2 is the entropy. Entropy is associated with the entire experiment, resulting into multiple outcomes having different probabilities. So some properties of probabilities are given. Now what would be the minimum value of this entropy, that we can also find out. What would be maximum value of the entropy, that also we can find out. So let us have it for a simple case. We consider empirical things here, and actual derivation I leave up to you. It's very simple, it is stated within the book. Now, while considering empirical situations, we try to presume a very simple case in the beginning, that is an experiment with one outcome. No, experiment with one outcome is not a simple case, but it's a trivial case, and it gives no information. So we take experiment with two outcomes. So I have results into S0 and S1. S0 and S1. So when I have two, then they will be having probabilities P0 and P1. P0 and P1. To make the equation simpler, since I have one more governing equation, that is P0 plus P1 equal to 1, I can use it while assigning the probabilities. If I assign the probability P to this automatically becomes 1 minus. This automatically becomes 1 minus. Is it correct now? So then I can write Hs for this particular as, since it is 2, I will not write summation formula, I will write two terms directly. So it is P log 1 upon P to the base 2 plus 1 minus P or this is minus 2 bracket P log P plus 1 minus P what would be its minimum value? Obviously it is to base 2. What would be its minimum value? Its minimum value If P is 0, what will happen? If P is 0, if or you can say reverse. If P is 1, if P is 1, what will happen? If P is 1, the first term will become 1 log of 1 to the base 2, that is 1 into 0 is 0. What will be the fate of the second term? 0 log of 0 to the base 2 is what? Log of 0 to the base 2 is very quick answer. Log of 0 to the base 2, what is that? That is minus infinity. So 0 into minus infinity. But it is also 0 because actually on that we shall discuss sometime later. This is also 0 because this is a strong 0 and this is a weak infinity. You might not have heard this term before. A product of strong 0 and weak infinity is 0. A product of weak 0 and strong infinity is infinity. A product of strong 0 and strong infinity is a finite quantity. Or in a way, product of weak 0 and weak infinity is also a finite quantity. Strong and weak is a relative term. Therefore, if the strongness of both is equal, then there is no point in using weak 0, weak infinity or strong 0, strong infinity. But when there is a difference in the strength, in that case we can use. It is a thinking exercise for you. What I mean by 1 minus P, when P is equal to 1, 1 minus P is 0 and this log is minus infinity. So it's a product of 0 into infinity. This is a strong 0 and this is a weak infinity. Strong 0 and weak infinity, and the product is 0. So you may think it later. It's a very interesting thing to think at least. Okay. So we will see. Now, when it will attain maxima? When it will attain maxima? You can differentiate. You can differentiate, and after differentiating, do you get the solution? After differentiation, will you get a solution? Let us experiment whether do we get for maximum. So, differentiating this equation h of s, or this now becomes h of p. Why? Because it is a particular formula now. It means h in that s which is a two outcome event in which one is p and other is obviously one minus p. So what is this differentiation? It becomes minus into bracket p log p differentiation. What will be? P log p differentiation. P into
1 by
1 upon
plus
p. Is it okay?
Plus.
No, it is not.
plus
Oh, this is or not? Into log 2 to the base e, because log p to the base 2 can be considered to be log p to the base e upon log 2 to the base e. So this we can have if it remains in the denominator, or write as ln of. Actually, this we need not consider, because I can, in the first simplification process, what I can have, I can rewrite this itself, HP, so that I will get rid of those unnecessary terms. HP would be P minus in bracket P into ln of P plus 1 minus P into ln of P upon ln of P, right? So that I need not bother, because it becomes a constant outside. It becomes a constant outside, and that will remain as a constant. So that I write as now minus 1 upon ln of 2 into bracket now this P plus 1 minus P ln of 1 minus P. And now when I differentiate, this really doesn't matter, because after differentiation I am going to make equal to 0. So this doesn't matter. Now that's not a major issue. So this differentiation is, I am in this bracket only, P into 1 upon P plus ln P, correct? Right? Plus this as 1 minus P. This is what, how it comes out to be? What's out to be? Will you expand this? Actually, what do you think better? 1 minus P, because this itself will give me what? 1 minus P into derivative of this is what? 1 upon 1 minus P into minus 1 into minus 1, right? So that I write here, okay? Plus ln of 1 minus P into this is minus P into minus, that is, I can write it here. And it is made equal to 0. So it is 1 plus ln P plus this goes, right? So minus 1 minus ln of 1 minus P, that is equal to 0 now. So this goes ln of P
is equal to
minus ln of
1
ln of P minus ln of 1 minus P, that must be equal to 0. Means what? ln of P upon 1 minus P must be equal to 0. Means P upon 1 minus P equal to
not P equal to 1 minus
equal to 1, right?
Yes.
That is P equal to 1 minus P. It is P equal to
1 by 2.
correct? P equal to 1. So information is maximum when the events are equally likely. That we can extend for multiple outcomes. So the graph of HP if P goes ahead, again graph falls. Because when P is equal to 1, it is 0. When p is equal to 0, again it is 0. Because in that case, this second term is 0, first term also 0. So if p is the probability of either p is 0, either s0 or s1. That is immaterial now. Because it is one is p and other is 1 is. So the information in an two outcome experiment is maximum 1 bit. Information in an two outcome experiment is maximum 1 bit, and here the binary thing comes for our help, that by using 1 bit I can encode the information 0 and 1. Is it clear now? So information in an experiment, its average is called as entropy. Average information per one conduct of experiment. Average information per one conduct of experiment is called as entropy. For the same number of outcomes, the entropy is more when the events are equally likely. Events are means the probabilities are not at the boundaries. The information is maximum, or entropy is maximum when the events are equally likely. The entropy is 0 when one outcome is certain and others are impossible. And the entropy is less when the information, when the experiment is having the probability distribution which is skewed. Means when equal likely maximum and entropy goes on reducing as the probability distribution becomes skewed. Right. Now the thing is like this. So the entropy is the average information contained in an experiment or a source. A source is resulting into multiple symbols as its outcomes and contains the average information per experiment or per symbol generated. Now there is a very interesting thing of source coding or encoding, or is encoding connected to the entropy itself. As it is now quite clear that happening is taking place at one end and is to be communicated at some other place with the help of, let us for simplicity assume that using digital communication techniques with binary consideration. So I would be sending a pulse of ones and zeros. I want to convert the information. What is information now? Outcomes of the experiment that I want to convert into ones and zeros, that I want to transmit, that I will receive. So by taking help of bits, binary number system, I will encode, I will transmit, I will receive, and I will decode the information. So how should I proceed further for that? This is a simple question. Then, without considering any of these entropy related issues, I do have a very simple coding technique. That is, the coding technique is very much simple in the sense it does not at all consider any kind of economizing or optimizing the thing, but it is very simple. It simply takes into consideration how many outcomes are there. If I have capital K outcomes, if I have capital K outcomes, then I will find smallest n. I will find smallest n such that K outcome means S0 to Sk minus 1. So K outcomes for the experiment. If I have K outcomes for the experiment, then I will try to find smallest n such that K is less than equal to and so once I find small, so I will take an example. Suppose if I have 7 outcomes. I have 7 outcomes. Say let us say outcomes are A, B, C, D, E, F and G. So 7 is less than 2. So smallest n for K equals 1 is 3. So once I convert n is equal to 3, then I get a 3-bit code. So how many codes I have? 8 codes. How many symbols I want to encode? 7. So that's all. So I will use a 3-bit code to encode these 7 symbols. My source coding is over. I assign the symbols. To A I assign the code 000. To G I assign the code 110. 111 code I don't use. That's all. So my purpose is over. But so there is no flaw now. There is no flaw. It's a perfect coding as regards to transmission, reception, protocols, and everything is concerned. But there is not flaw, but what we can say, non-optimized behavior in this encoding. Even the Morse had thought of this when alphabets are to be coded. Now, suppose English alphabets are to be coded, 26 alphabets. Then how many bits I need? 5 bits. I need 5 bits. So for each alphabet, for each letter in the and this entire text will be transferred. Let us take a very simple example. We have an English text. We do not have numbers because that will further complicate the things. I simply have the English text. If numbers are there, I will use TWO2 so that the problem is not there. So a novel is to be there is an interesting novel. Other techniques were not there. So a novel is to be transmitted from one end to other end with a telegram. So 26 letters are there. So for these 26 letters, n becomes 5. So for each letter you assign a 5-bit code. So the code length is now 5. Code word is now same. Code word length is 5. So for transmitting 1000 characters, I need 5000 bits to transmit. Dot, dot and dash. So the codes that type were dot dash like that, like 0, 1. This is inefficient code. Because can we have a simple theme with which we can think of something further? I find that the letter Q hardly appears, but letter A, then letter E, these two more frequently appear. Then R, then O, then U, and then other, then B appears, then D appears, then T appears, then P appears. Yet just to have get a feel of it, you can download any text and using word available today, you can count how many times letter A has come, how many times letter B has come. So you will be getting a probability distribution of probability of A till probability of Z. Let us do, we don't have small capitals right now. Okay? And then we can think of in this first encoding, what I have done, I have presumed that I will give the same code, the same like 3-bit code word to all the symbols. That is not necessary now. Now I should think of a variable length code. Some symbol may get a shorter code, some symbols may get a longer code, and I will see to it that more probable symbols get smallest length code, so that the average code word length, the average becomes a weighted average with the probabilities. So the average code length becomes less. So in principle, I go for shorter and longer length codes, variable length codes. Only one simple principle is to be kept in mind for this variable length codes to be decodable neatly, and that principle is that we will consider by example. Suppose if I have some codes, I can construct, say, 0 is one code, 1 0 is other code, 1 1 is other code, and 0 is other code. So these are the 4 codes. Can they be assigned to 4 symbols? No, because this is 1-bit code and this is a 2-bit code in which this happens to be the first bit. And obviously, when I receive a string, I will not be able to understand whether this 0. When I receive a 0, I should be able to understand whether it is for the first symbol, the only bit in the first symbol, or first bit in the fourth symbol. So a very simple rule which we can prepare, that rule is no shorter length code should form the beginning part of any longer length code. No shorter length code should form beginning part of a longer length code. So once that is followed, no issue. So we can have these 4 codes can be assigned independently. No confusion will take place, because no smaller length code is a beginning part of a longer length code. So such, in a systematic manner, we can design these variable length codes, and we can assign them to various outcomes depending upon their probabilities. So, given an experiment with multiple outcomes with different probabilities, how exactly is to assign various variable code words to these outcomes in order to see that the average code length becomes smaller is called as source coding technique. So, if I am having, and again say an experiment, with S0 till S capital K minus 1, that is K outcomes, then to each of them is having probability P0 till, to each of them I will assign one code, one binary code which may have multiple bits. So each of them will have a length. Only restriction is that this length must be integer. We can't have half length, 1.5 bits as such. Average can be any, but individual value is integer. So I have got an experiment in which symbols occur. Those are S0 to Sk minus 1. They have a probabilities P0 to Pk minus 1. Each of them is having the length L0 to Lk minus 1. Then what is the entropy that we have got as H of S is equal to summation Pk, we should write on this side, is entropy. Now, what would be average code word length? That I can write as mean of, means each of them is having some length, capital L, or small is the length L0, L1, L2. What is the average code word length? Now, how can you write that? Can you have a simple formula? What is that? What is the average code word length? It is correct? Pk into Lk. Then it is possible to have effective code, means this you are assigning now. Particular codes to these symbols you are assigning. And in your algorithm, it may result into some codes, other algorithm may result into some other codes. So, this L bar, there is a scope for improvement. So, there is a concept of L min. What is L min? What is L min? It is the minimum length, minimum average length possible for a given distribution. Minimum average length possible for a given distribution. And your eta would be L min on L bar. Your eta, which is efficiency of your coding, is L min upon L bar. What is L min then? What is L min? The minimum length, which would be the average length for the code. Shannon's first theorem or source coding theorem says that given a discrete memoryless source of entropy Hs, the average code word length L bar for any source encoding is bounded such that you cannot have encoding which will result into L. The bound is like this. Means any L bar would be more or equal to Hs. So what is L min? L min is Hs itself. So your efficiency is, that results into this. Eta is Hs upon L bar. Eta is Hs upon L bar. Now, to exploit this, for a given probability distribution of the source, there are some standard techniques available.